broadcasting has been started, and I will start. Thank you.
Yes, we have already started streaming.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Dear ladies and gentlemen, today is May 24. It is exactly a month ago, Russia has started unprecedented and unprovoked war aggression against Ukraine. Since February 24, thousands of Ukrainians, including babies, children, old men, pregnant women, were killed by Russians. Millions of Ukrainians became homeless and had to flee. We face horrors of fascism in the third millennium in the heart of European civilized world. So I would like to ask that we observe a minute of silence for all who died defending Ukraine, as well as for those who died innocently. Thank you, colleagues. Dear colleagues, it is my honor to start our International Forum on Higher Education Quality Assurance in Wartime. This forum initiated by National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance, and we highly appreciate extremely and extraordinary interest expressed by our international colleagues and national stakeholders in participating in this forum. Just one fact, we had to close the registration within 24 hours after we had opened this registration, because more than 500 participants have registered from 30 countries over the world. We welcome representatives of ENCA, ECWAR, SENCA, INQUAH, European University Association, INAI, and other quality assurance organizations and agencies from all over the world. We also welcome all participants who are following our forum via Zoom channel, as well as YouTube and Facebook channels. So it's time to start our forum, and let me give the floor to the head of the National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance, Andriy Butenko. Pan Andriy, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. On behalf of NACA, I'd just like to thank everyone who joined this forum. Ukraine is all over the front pages of news all over the world, and unfortunately this is due to the terrible tragedy that is happening in Ukraine. And as we speak, civilians die, soldiers die, children die. It just continues to happen, and it will continue to happen until we are completely victorious and this country has been liberated. Many educators have picked up arms to defend their homeland. It is our right and our duty to procreate, to create, but at times we have to bear arms to defend our homeland. And despite all these horrors, we continue to take great care about the quality of our education. And as millions of civilians are fleeing and cities are being leveled to the ground, our schools and our universities continue to function, even those that have seen significant destruction of their facilities, and multiple important decisions are being taken to keep this process alive. Universities help each other out, support each other in terms of evacuation, and in terms of providing educational services. You know, our educators have received tremendous support from foreign establishments who have received and hosted hundreds of professors and students, for which we are deeply and sincerely thankful. Representation at today's forum just is a great example, is a great reflection of those kind of support I'm talking about. And as we've heard, some 30 countries are represented at this forum. 29 different quality assurance agencies are present. leadership of ANCA, Senka, and other prominent organizations are all here joining us live today. So we will continue to develop our educational system, and we'll continue to strive for further integration with our European counterparts. And despite all the urgent and pressing masses brought about to the fore by this war, our government and our leadership continues to take great care about the education of education in Ukraine. And we have Minister Scarlett, we have President here, we have the head of the parliamentary committee on education present here, which is another great testament of the importance of this process. And today we will present the action plan for ensuring the quality of higher education. And this plan was co-developed by members of academia, government, and the civil society. The purpose and the goal of this plan is to transform, modify Ukrainian legislation to meet ANCA requirements and become a full member. So today we will learn more about best international practices in the field of quality assurance for education, and we will hear real life stories from people who have experienced horrors of war. Today is an excellent opportunity to exchange best practices, ideas, and experience to bring about this victory. It's something that is in the mind of every single citizen of Ukraine, I think, and globally as well. So thank you once again for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, please advise if the Minister of Education has already joined, or can we proceed further? Okay, I don't have any confirmation by this moment. So, but we also have. I should say that NACA values collaboration with the Parliament Committee on Education, Science and Innovation. We are really grateful to all People's Deputy who support higher education quality assurance in the wartime and before that. And I welcome the opportunity to give the floor to Serhiy Babak, the chairman of the Verkhovna Rada Committee on Education, Science and Innovations. Pane Serhiyu, please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear partners, dear friends of Ukraine. Today is 3 months to the date exactly since the beginning of this terrible, horrible war and this unprovoked, unprecedented aggression of Russian Federation against Ukraine. And all of us have been doing our utmost to preserve our educational system and to ensure that the citizens continue to enjoy rights that are due to them, including access to education. And as you know, the Parliament of Ukraine, prior to this aggression, was working very diligently and very actively on reforming our higher education system. Unfortunately, the war threw a proverbial spanner in the works, but nonetheless, we continue with our efforts, both the ministry and the national agency and the parliamentary committee. And I think we finally stopped arguing and started collaborating properly. And we continue to improve our legislation to harmonize it with the unified European educational space, so to speak. So I would like to take this moment to thank the international community for their staunch support of Ukraine and suspending membership of the aggressive country. Now, one of our key tasks is membership in ANCA, obviously, and that is why we decided to take part in development of this action plan, because I mean, it is quite obvious that Ukraine needs these amendments to integrate itself more closely. So the need to introduce European approaches is unquestionable. And we know that a lot has been done. We've we accomplished some accreditation during wartime, and this is by all means, a heroic deed. Number of procedures have been finalized during the war. So, and that's great news. And despite all this, we still have our work cut out for us in the future. And I'm sure we'll be able to overcome all these challenges that we are facing. And I'm sure we will emerge victorious, and our educational system will end up being better than it has ever been before. And I would like to wish everyone a fruitful exchange today.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, this forum is conducted by NACA with the support of Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, project coordinator in Ukraine. I should say that NACA has fruitful cooperation with OSCE, project coordinator in Ukraine. We signed memorandum of understanding. We also have conducted some successful projects. So it is my pleasure to give the floor to senior coordinator of the OSCE project coordinator in Ukraine, Karen Rolke. Please, the floor is yours.
Keeping up the high level of education during this very challenging and difficult times. I think it's a very important element, and it's due to many educational institutions and the people of Ukraine that this can continue. So now I'm glad to welcome you all to today's event on ensuring higher education quality in times of war, which we organized jointly with the National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance and the Ministry of Education. I would like to commend the efforts of our colleagues from the agency as well as other partners, such as the Verkhovna Rada Committee on Education, Science and Innovation, the Education Ministry and higher education institutions for their efforts in ensuring the higher education quality. In spite of the difficult circumstances the country is facing now, I believe it is very important to focus on education, because these efforts contribute for a better future for Ukraine and especially its younger generation. Education has an important role in promoting the rule of law and a culture of lawfulness, as it nurtures positive values and attitudes in future generations. The OSCE project coordinator in Ukraine is committed to the initiatives aimed at fostering the rule of law and human rights and actively promote the country's reform processes, adapting the work of emerging needs. We have been cooperating with the National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance for almost 4 years. And we are happy to continue to provide support to the agency, especially at the current circumstances when higher education in Ukraine faces new challenges. Acknowledging the leading role of the higher education quality assurance agencies in developing standards-based higher education requirements, for the last few years, we have helped our colleagues to develop partnerships with a number of European higher education quality assurance institutions. I'm glad that our colleagues from the National Agency already used the acquired international and national experience in developing standards for higher education quality and drafting the international accreditation framework. I hope that today's forum will provide a platform for our partners and academic community to discuss challenges and search for solutions in functioning of higher education quality assurance systems under war conditions, together with the leadership and colleagues of European higher education quality assurance institutions, representatives of international higher education quality assurance networks, national partners, and other stakeholders. I would like to thank our colleagues, especially the head of the national agency, Mr. Andriy Butenka, and former head of the agency, Mr. Serhei Quid, for our fruitful cooperation and the tremendous work that the agency is doing to improve higher education quality in Ukraine. We see the national agency as a catalyst for the country's higher education modernization and shaping quality culture. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all a fruitful discussion today.
Thank you very much for joining us. Dear colleagues, we are glad to inform you that the Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine has already joined our forum, and I give the floor to Serhiy Shkarlet, the Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. First of all, many thanks for inviting me. Ukrainian higher education continues to make progress towards integration in European educational space. You know, we want to be in line with these modern trends and tendencies. However, as we all know, Ukraine is currently going through some difficult times. The Russian aggression has somewhat slowed our pace down. However, this process is underway nonetheless. 90% of schools and 100% of universities continue to operate, continue to function in a hybrid or a remote mode of operation. So obviously, to take place to facilitate
Героям слава. Thank you. Thank you. Dear colleagues, I should mention that NACA strategy aim is to be fully integrated into the European quality assurance family. All quality assurance procedures are linked to ESG 2015, and in 2020, NACA became an affiliate of ENCA. We feel ENCA support and highly appreciate the possibility to participate different ENCA events, including General Assembly. And it is my pleasure and honor to mention that Douglas Blackstock, ENCA president, has joined our forum. And I know that it was very challenging for Douglas today to be in time because he was running from the train to join us. So Douglas, it is my honor to give the floor to you, please.
Thank you, Natalia. And I think any challenge I face with getting from a train station from London to the House is insignificant in comparison to what I'm hearing from colleagues on this call just in the few minutes I've been able to join. I've known colleagues in NACA for many years now. In my previous role in QA in the UK, we've worked in partnership with you on many projects, and I see two colleagues, my former QA colleague Ian Welsh and colleague from Advanced HE, Alison Johns, on the call. We've all worked together to build the capacity in NACA, and that's indeed what ENCA, and I see Carl Dietrich from ECA as well are absolutely committed to. And I'm really pleased that recently the European Commission funded an ENCA project to help 5 agencies move forward in their alignment with the European standards and guidelines. And one of them is NACA in Ukraine. And we are absolutely determined that the current disruption caused by the war is not going to get in the way of our support for NACA. I wrote to all ENCA members on Friday saying that we are living in the most challenging times. I don't think we expected as we started to emerge from the pandemic that we would see what was described at the recent Bologna follow-up group meeting in Strasbourg as Europe at war. And yeah. Okay, sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm on the English channel, yeah. So I turn, is it working now? I'm happy to change. Is it working? Is the translation working?
Yeah, you're in the English channel.
Do you want me to start again?
Yeah, sorry, not again, just proceed.
Okay. Colleagues, and I was saying, I see my colleague Carl Duchsworth there, and we and Colin Tukamek are liaised closely on our response to the situation. And none of us envisaged, sorry, I was saying that I wrote to our members, none of us envisaged the situation we've been in. This has challenged many European organisations and how we responded, but nothing compared to the challenges that you're facing in your country with the devastation that we've seen. And as an organisation, we have suspended our Russian members and affiliates as a result of, not of their actions, of course, but of their government. And we've put in place a package to support NACA and including, as I wrote to you last week, Natalia, providing funding so that NACA staff members or delegates can continue to attend ENCA events. And I do hope that we will see a colleague in our assembly in Cardiff in a couple of weeks' time in Wales. Last week I was at the UNESCO conference, and this is why it's really important that we try to support across Europe to help NACA continue to function for the benefit of the students and society in Ukraine. There was a major discussion in UNESCO about the Global Convention on Recognition of Qualifications, and a major part of that was discussions around issues faced by people who become refugees or are displaced, and how we support and recognise qualifications. The disruption you face is enormous, and we heard colleagues from Romania and how they have adapted quickly their procedures, because we heard stories of many students leaving Ukraine with no documentation, leaving quickly as a result of the invasion, and colleagues across Europe have been adapting the procedures to be able to quickly get recognition of prior learning and prior qualifications. We will do whatever we can to support NACA and to help the system function, because aside from the other issues that go on, the military issues, Ukraine's success in its education system will be part of the rebuilding. Absolutely essential, and you have our fullest support, our backing, and if there's anything more that we can do, colleagues, please help us, and particularly we will work in partnership with our colleagues and friends in the European Register, with the European Universities Association and the European Students' Union to build support for you across all of the European higher education area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Douglas, and many thanks to ENCA for all kinds of support. And thank you very much for joining us today. We know it was challenging for you. Thank you. NACA also appreciates continuous consultative support provided by EQUAR. This forum is also attended by Karl Dietrich, EQUAR president. Karl, the floor is yours. We cannot hear.
I did. I start again.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
now everything is fine. Thank you.
Dear friends and colleagues, it is an absolute disgrace that this forum on higher education quality assurance in wartime has to take place. It's a disgrace that Russia invaded Ukraine. And each day, all of us witness what we hoped would never happen again in Europe. And each day, we see the damage, the atrocities, the victims, and all other consequences of a war. It's inhuman, it's cruel, it's a bloody shame that this happens in today's world. But this war also shows us what courage does mean. We hear, of course, the tragic stories of civilians that die, of civilians that had to flee from Ukraine to safe spaces, of civilians that have lost all they had. But we also hear the stories of heroes, of people who are willing to defend their country, to defend their fellow citizens, to defend their nation. The courage of these people is enormous and is an example for all of us who are only confronted with minor misfortunes compared to what happens in your country. An example of your courage and your perseverance is also the way in which you try to continue the education for children and students. More than ever, I am convinced of the sheer power of education. It's one of the few policies and lines of thinking that leads to a brighter future, to optimism and to chances. That is why we all admire what you are doing, and that even in this bizarre situation, you are upholding your vision on a better future for your children and students. And let us praise all teachers, researchers, support staff, politicians, governors, and everyone involved in this heroic battle for the future of the next generations. And it is, of course, without any doubt that you might expect from us everything that is necessary to support individuals, schools, teachers, universities, NAQA in their almost superhuman task to uphold the hope for children and students. You can count on us. I wish you all possible success and never hesitate to ask for help, assistance, and advice. And by the way, I'm attending the conference from the Directors General for Higher Education of the EU here in Paris, and they all send you their greetings, their support, and their solidarity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for supportive words and solidarity. Thank you. NACA is also proud to be a full member of SENCA, and we appreciate all support and collaboration with this regional quality assurance organization, where we have presented our experience during COVID-19 and as well as exchange good practices with the other member agencies. I would like to give the floor to Francie Demsar, President of SENCA. Francie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Parliament Representative, dear conference participants, dear Natalia, Albina, and friends from NACA. When I took over the management of SENCA 2 years ago, I envisaged the greatest possible support and participation of joint projects of more than 40 Eastern and Central European agencies for quality assurance in higher education. The Ukrainian agency had been ranked among the most active members, and through joint research on the independence of agencies, we established an excellent cooperation between Slovenia and Ukraine as well. Nevertheless, it could never occur to Natalia or me that in a little more than a year we would instead talk about Ukraine's independence. The conference proves that NACWA has also undertaken the mission of maintaining conditions required for higher education to function in wartime with all zeal and professionalism, with an iron will to maintain the best possible system of higher education, even in these difficult times. I shall attend this international event with great interest, where due to various participants and their creative contribution, everybody can achieve a great deal, and the associations of the agencies with its extensive network, including many universities around the world, can surely help find solutions. I'm aware that I will hear about hundreds of destroyed classrooms, about professors who died or they're fighting or who are temporarily left your home, about the really severe conditions in which you work. I will inform our fellow members about the content of the conference, and I guarantee you that you can count on our help wherever possible. Of course, I express my solidarity and admiration for your effective resistance. Slava Ukraini.
Heroям slava. Thank you. Dear colleagues, NACA is also full member of INCWAHE, which is a global organization, and we are a full member since early 2020, and we highly appreciate this valuable membership. And Deb, INCWAHE president, she confirmed her participation, but unfortunately an hour ago she informed us that she doesn't feel well, and she sent all her warm words to support Ukrainians and NACA colleagues. And she says, my remarks, I would like to cite my remarks to focus on our deep respect for the Ukrainian higher educational community and practically NACA colleagues in their efforts to provide academic continuity for their students in such difficult times. So we wish to Deb the soonest recovery and thank her for her warm words. Dear colleagues, thank you for this first part of the session. And before I start presenting the external higher education quality assurance in Ukraine during the wartime, I would like to announce a brief survey which we would like to ask you to participate in. So the survey is available to Zoom participants as well as to those who would follow our forum via Facebook. So please follow the link which is shared in the Facebook, or please use these polls in the Zoom. So this is a very short survey which will be available for 5 minutes or so, while I will present higher education quality, external quality assurance in wartime. Next slide, please. So first of all, just very brief one slide which presents NACA before the war. As you probably know, NACA was launched in January 2019, and in January 2022, before the February, so before the war started, we actually had just 3 years of our activities. And just brief report what has been done during this time. So quality assurance system was launched, starting from the very beginning, from all documents, all the procedures. So we ensured compliance with ESG of the all accreditation procedures. We have trained more than 4,000 experts, and actually, as Douglas mentioned, QAA supported us in terms of training of trainers for these experts. We also, during this time, we have conducted more than 4,000 of accreditations, of study programs accreditations, and most of them, so more than 3,000 were online accreditations because of COVID-19 restrictions. And we reported on our experience of online accreditations during the European Quality Assurance Forum, during some big events of our international partners. So this experience was shared and discussed at all levels. We have also made piloting of self-assessment report, and we constantly on the annual basis report on higher education quality assurance. Next slide, please. In addition to all our other activities and in accordance with the mandate we are provided at the legislative level, I would like to mention that when war has started, we have focused on some key areas. First of all, it's accreditations, because in Ukraine only those students, the universities can issue diplomas only those study programs which have been already accredited. So we cannot stop our activities, and we proceed with accreditations, we finalize them, and we find the way how to support our higher educational institutions in this regard. Besides, we make self-assessment and check compliance with ESG 2015. Another area is supportive communication with higher educational institutions and other stakeholders. And we also see our function as a platform for best practices and informing the society about about what's going on in Ukrainian higher education quality assurance. Next slide, please. On March 16, the Cabinet of Ministers issued a resolution which included some key points which support NACA in terms of its activities during the wartime. First of all, NACA is empowered to hold accreditations remotely. NACA is also empowered to grant conditional one-year accreditations without or with partial conducting of accreditation expertise free of charge, and also certificates that were valid on February 24 last until July 1 of the year following the year of termination of martial law in Ukraine. Next slide, please. Some brief statistics. Since February 24, we have the following numbers. 762 study programs have submitted self-assessment reports. 87 expert panels reports submitted. And actually, we highly appreciate all the efforts which our accreditation experts put to submit this report. 169 subject area consuls reports, because they are follow up the procedure and they finalize their reports also. We have some NACA's meetings. We had some NACA meetings, and we made 391 NACA's final decision on accreditations. And we have also granted 604 conditional accreditations, this, as we call technical accreditation, for 1 year due to the state of war. And we have also received almost 800 requests of higher educational institutions, and we actioned them. Next slide, please. So now we are focusing on the following issues. First of all, supportive communications with the universities, consultations on accreditation, and we have also established consultative panels to support higher educational institutions. We inform the society on the work consequences for higher education. So we develop our network, and actually NACA, the network is appeared to be very helpful in terms of supporting teachers, students, and all higher education representatives during the wartime. We also collect and publish information on consequences of the war for higher education through the official website, social media, and so on. We also initiate and manage projects, and some of them are really important for us. For instance, NACA faced some cyber attacks, and we have very advanced e-system to support accreditation process, and NACA IT system requires additional support in order to be resistant to cyber attacks. We also planning and work with international experts to involve them into NACA activities and into these consultative panels. Next slide, please. We also conduct self-assessment, and we also have developed national action plan, which will be presented today, and also check compliance with ESG even during wartime. It has appeared to be that ESG working even during the wartime, so we can do that. We can check our compliance with them. And of course, proceeding accreditations to the possible extent. As I mentioned, some numbers, so we proceed with accreditations however we can. Next slide, please. So to sum up, this is the final slide. We have concluded some important issues related to external quality assurance during the wartime. First of all, quality assurance should be flexible and demonstrate flexibility and adaptability in the emergency situations. We have reported it during the European Quality Assurance Forum during COVID times on quality assurance changing role, but we also can confirm it that during the wartime it's also very important. Next point is that quality assurance should be sustainable, and we as agency should ensure quality assurance sustainability and support higher educational institutions during different emergency situations. And quality assurance supportive communications has raising important, and it is key during the wartime. So dear colleagues, thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to ask if we have results of the survey. So the first question was, do you agree that ensuring the quality of higher education is important in wartime? So 80% of those who answered strongly agree with this point. So this is, so it means we are on the right track. So we are proceeding with external quality assurance, and we pay attention to it, and we still consider it important. Thank you very much for the results of the survey. So now, I think we can move to the second part of our forum, which is devoted to the problems of the internal higher educational quality assurance in the wartime. And we invited rectors of Ukrainian universities to share their experience and to explain how they deal with quality assurance during the wartime. And I would like to thank all rectors who will make presentations today, because we know what challenging times for Ukrainian universities these days are. So let's start with those universities which suffered from the Russian aggression most of all. Mariupol is pain in the heart of each Ukrainian, and Mariupol and Azovstal is new symbol of resilience and dignity. Mariupol is one of the headlines of all world news for the last weeks. and 95% of the city is totally destroyed, but the university survived. I would like to give the floor to Rector of Mariupol State University, Mykola Trofimenko.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much for this opportunity, and it's my privilege and honor to inform you about the current situation of Mariupol State University and to make the updates about what we are doing now. Please, next slide. So Mariupol State University, it's a university of 4,500 students, 500 employees, over 80 bachelor and master's programs. And next, please. We've just celebrated our anniversary at the Mariupol Drama Theater, the famous one, and we made the conclusion that these 30 years of our activities, they were very successful. Please, next. And it was in this actually drama theater that was bombed by a Russian pilot with a huge inscriptions attached to all sides of this building, the inscriptions children actually. And 1,500 people were inside the shelters of this drama theater. It's like one of the symbols of Russian liberation of Mariupol actually. Please, next. Actually, Mariupol State University is the most damaged university in Ukraine. We have all our premises and buildings and hostels, they are damaged and fully destroyed, actually. Please, next. You can see the pictures from our buildings, inside our buildings. Next, please. Next. Next. So Mariupol, it was totally in siege from the end of February, and 95% of the all infrastructure of the city is totally destroyed. Actually, one of our most important decisions was to evacuate all the servers and important databases and important documents from the city to Dnipro, and after that to Lviv in the beginning of this war in the morning of February 24th, actually. It made us possible to restore all our activities after we flee the city. Please, next. So Mariupol is totally destroyed. It's like modern Aleppo in Europe. Please, next. Russians bombed the city and hit all our infrastructural buildings, all our hospitals. Next, please. The maternity houses, and please, next. Unfortunately, we have the information about 8 members of our staff that were killed by Russians. Unfortunately, we don't know the fate of 40 our employees. We have also victims of this war among our students. We know we have this information about the four students of Mariupol State University, unfortunately. Please, next. But after we flee the city, after March 15, when we started to flee Mariupol, we started the registration of our faculty members, employees, and students. And now we have 80% of our employees that are now in safer places. We have 47 employees that fled Ukraine, and over 60% of our students are in touch, and they are attending our online lectures and other activities. Please, next. We were relocated to Kyiv by the order of the Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine, and from April 18 we restored our online education. We restored our IDOC, our electronic documentation system. We restored all the activities and all services we provide to our students and to our faculty members. We restored our payments of salaries and scholarships also. It's next. The staff members, after we fled from Mariupol, we gathered our academic council, and we stressed that our employees and our team will work in Ukraine, and we will restore the activities of our university. We addressed and appealed to the President, to the Prime Minister, to the head of our parliament, and to the Minister of Education. And they supported our decision to be in Kyiv, actually, because here in the capital of our country, our university will be the most useful for our country in these informational and educational battlefields we have in this war also. Please, next. Mariupol State University is the only university that was relocated to Kyiv, and we will try to use also this opportunity to be situated in the capital of our country. Next. Our strategic objectives and what we're doing now, we're reviewing all our educational programs. We understand that we have to restore and to build a brand new university with the new philosophy and with the new feeling of all our educational programs. We are building new partnerships with foreign partners. We are organizing audit of all our resources that are available for us. We are organizing rebranding of our university because it's now the symbol of Mariupol, and it should be the symbol of renewal of all educational system in Ukraine. We are setting up project and mobility department of our university to mobilize and to gather all the projects and possibilities we have now. We organize the development of new strategic plan of our university. And of course, we need a new marketing strategy because we are on the new educational market in the capital of our country. Please, next. We also entered the European University Alliance. We signed twinning agreements and memorandums of understanding with a lot of our partners. We believe that this internationalization will bring something new to all our educational programs, and they will be more attractive for all our students. Please, next. The Mariupol State University, it was also the center of transformation of our community in Mariupol. We do believe that it will be this center in Kyiv. It will be the heart of Mariupol in Kyiv, in our capital. And we do believe that the rebirth and renewal of Mariupol will start from the renewal and the rebirth of Mariupol State University. We are establishing the new center of Mariupol in our heart, based in Mariupol State University. Please, next. That will be the magnet for all our citizens. We will help them, we will coordinate all our Mariupol residents, and we will be ready to go back home when our city, after the victory, it will be restored and rebuilt. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. This is the information about Mariupol State University. Further, I will answer all your questions.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really heroic story, and thank you very much for showing such an example and sharing such experience. We wish you all good luck to Mariupol State University at new place, and of course we wish you to be back home as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Kharkiv city is one of the largest educational and research centers of Ukraine, and the second largest city in Ukraine. Actually, my personal story of war starts with an early morning message of my colleague: Kharkiv is being bombed. Karazin Kharkiv National University was suggested to be evacuated several times. However, its rector, Tatiana Kaganovska, responded that this is Kharkiv National University and it should stay in Kharkiv. Pani Tatiana, the floor is yours. We cannot hear.
I apologize. Thank you, dear colleagues, dear friends. Thank you for this opportunity to tell you about the work of our Karazin University in these difficult times when we try to ensure the quality of higher education during the war. Next slide, please. Before the beginning of war, we celebrated the 217th anniversary of our university. We summarized, we set new objectives and tasks. And the spirits, Crossing University had high potential, and as of the first day of war, university on the daily training has almost 15,000 students and about 4,000 foreign students who are studying at university.
We were running over 287 educational programs at the time. Next slide. So, and obviously, as we all know, the war started on February 24th, and it brought untold destruction upon our university. One of the university buildings was completely destroyed. Now, here is the picture. That's a very telling photograph of the fate that Ukrainian universities had to experience. You know, our economic department was pretty much destroyed, leveled to the ground. Now, this is a Karazin Government Administration Institute before and after Russian attack. The next slide. That's our gymnasium, the gym, the athletic facility. It was pretty badly damaged by the shock blast following a bomb explosion right in the center of Europe's largest square in downtown Kharkiv. So that huge explosion led to physical damage, and it led to our IT infrastructure and our servers going down completely. So while we managed to restore some IT functionality, nevertheless, the damage has been extensive, and it could be measured to be as high as $100 million. But, you know, no amount of material damage can come close to the loss of human life and the suffering associated with that. And a number of our teaching staff and a number of our students have unfortunately perished in this war. Unfortunately, out of 2,500 teaching staff, some 1,500 had to leave the city, and some of them left the country altogether. Next slide. Early on into this war, we faced a major problem because obviously we had to evacuate over 5,000 students from their dorms. And we had to make sure that they are supplied with all the basic necessities, you know, because public transport, the mass transit system wasn't working at the time, and it was really hard to get people out of the city. So we basically created our own humanitarian operation. We created our own evacuation mission, and we started ferrying people out of the city of Kharkiv and into safety. And this logistical center, this humanitarian operation, provides food and clothes and basic necessities, as well as various pieces of equipment and vehicles, etc. So, you know, some of our teachers had to leave with the clothes they had on, you know, without a cell phone. So, yeah, so we did our best to help them as much as we could, especially getting to safety. Now, with the help of our alumni association, we launched Help Karazin University initiative. And thanks to this humanitarian operation that we're running, we're able to actually collect some donations and funds and even spend some of that money on rebuilding damaged facilities. Now, this is the daily life of our students in Karazin Student Hall and in their dorms. These are the students hailing from other regions of Ukraine, and basically some of those areas are under occupation, so these students have nowhere to go, so basically have to stay put, and we try to cater to their needs as much as we can. Now, our alumni have joined forces with us, and one very prominent person is Marina Litovchenko, who is a Paralympics gold medalist. So she sold all 3 of her gold medals and donated the proceeds to the university. So, yeah, obviously, at some point we had to start thinking about restoring all operations, right? So we are working very hard on actually getting back online, if you will. We're trying to stay in touch with our students. As I mentioned, we restored our server functionality. So we continue utilizing Zoom and Google Meet platform and other remote tools. So the educational process is in full swing. On March the 28th, one slide back, please. Yes, so the very important photographs. I'm sure the first photo, most Ukrainians have seen it, and perhaps even people from other countries. So this is one of our professors who has set up his workspace in the basement, inside the bomb shelter, basically, and continues teaching from there. And the other photo is of another professor who had to walk to the university as mass transit was down, so he had to walk to the university every single day and conduct these labs, these practical classes, and film them for the students to watch and learn. Now, we continue working on accreditation of our programs. So far, we have used a simplified procedure to apply for accreditation of 4 bachelor level programs. We are getting ready for yet another round of international certification according to the ISO standard, among other things as well. Now, we have conducted a number of workshops and seminars for our students and our teaching staff. We've already started attestation of students participating in bachelor and master programs. So today this year, we expect to graduate 2,200 bachelors and including 159 medical students or medical graduates. Now, the enrollment campaign is coming, and that's something we need to think about. On May 28, 29, we're going to conduct an online meeting with our applicants or potential students, and we are very active on social media, including Facebook and Instagram, to try and reach out to our future students. And we realize very well that they are very concerned and very anxious, and we really want these kids to choose our university. Now, despite the war, we continue our research and development in our scientific activities. Science is the essential foundation of education, so we continue conducting scientific conferences and workshops. 68 research and development projects are being implemented right now. 28 of those are fundamental scientific projects, and so far we've already participated in several dozen workshops and conferences. Now, obviously, the pride of our university is our young scientists, and our team of physics students has won a significant prize at an international competition, coming in second. And since male students are not allowed out of the country, the team had to be comprised of all female students, and they brought home some significant results. Now, our students continue to excel, participating in various projects, including Erasmus KA2, more on international cooperation there, Erasmus plus Monet, Horizon Europe, and a number of others, right? So these are all well-known international programs, and we have sent some 22 applications since the beginning of the war already. Now, 76 of our students and 27 members of staff have, in fact, enjoyed the academic mobility and the opportunities that it provides. So that's great, you know, so we continue these international cooperation efforts, including stepped up activities as a part of Erasmus plus KA2, as a part of the Aurora Consortium University, our university becoming an affiliate member, associated member for the very first time in Ukraine. And we are initiating an international training dedicated to managing these programs in times of war. So we have started negotiations about potential international accreditation programs to be run at the university. Now, as a part of Erasmus Plus Horizon 2020, we are working together with our partners to provide shelter to our students, working very closely with the partners from all over the world, including the Warsaw University, including York University. So it's a twinning project, basically. We have submitted one application to participate in Horizon Europe, another 4 applications for Erasmus Plus Jean Monnet, and we have signed some additional 5 MOUs with countries such as Poland and Czechia. So, in other words, the university continues to operate, to function, albeit in under very difficult circumstances. The city is not out of crosshairs yet and is seeing some shelling, and you know, the projectiles continue to hit the city and the university. But nevertheless, you know, we made this conscientious decision to stay in the city of Kharkiv and demonstrate the support for the country this way. And you know, our motto is education despite the war. So pretty telling. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Now we're moving to the next region, and it is my great pleasure to pass the floor to the next speaker, because he's from my native city, Dnipro city, which is very close, located is very close to the front line. And Dnipro is also well-known firewall for the whole Ukraine, as it became a real protective wall on the way of the enemy in 2014, and it stands as such now. So the same do Dnipro universities, among them Dnipro Polytechnics and Oles Hanchar Dnipro National University, which help and support relocated universities. So it is my pleasure to give the floor to Rector of Dnipro Polytechnics, Alexander Azukovsky. Pan Alexander, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. We've just seen some horrible pictures of destruction and havoc that was brought upon us. You know, Dnipro is obviously a very important logistical hub for Ukraine, and in many ways it determines the economic success of the country. And universities in Dnipro play an important role in countering Russian aggression by, first of all, developing and researching military technologies and helping the economy in general. So the biggest change for us is the fact that we are shifting our focus on delivering short-term objectives, short-term results with very well-defined key performance indicators, given the lack of immediate resources. So obviously the success of the higher education institution is ensured by determining a position in the system of sustainable economic development, both during martial law and during its recovery, by properly positioning the university, really. So in other words, we are affecting the future today by preparing the next generation of professionals. So any mistakes that we make today will become exaggerated in the future. So that is why, you know, we have to make sure that the university operates according to the principles of sustainable development, both in wartime and in peacetime. So to try and answer the question, who we are, you know, why do we exist? So we exist to provide quality educational services and helping mitigate any risks and mistakes in terms of higher educational strategies for educational institutions. So, you know, for Dnipro Polytechnics, we have two end-to-end cycles simultaneously, and I'm talking about mineral deposits and electrical energy. So the university trains professionals for more than 70% of the entire list of specialties in Ukraine with a very sort of a tailored approach. Next slide. So the entire economy has to rely on resources directly or indirectly at every stage of the way, basically, from mining to extraction to enrichment, processing. All of these steps require significant scientific support and facilitation across a broad spectrum of different specialities, including energy, mechanics, physics, digital areas, mining operations, so etc., you name it, and that is why, you know, we have to play a role in terms of supporting these technologies. And so obviously, speaking of life cycle of electricity, for example, I think we all find it very convenient when we can you know, get our power from a single source, you know, without thinking about the actual sources and where this electricity is coming from. So to look at this closed life cycle, you know, we can start with, you know, thermal generation. It doesn't matter really where this heat is coming from. So then this thermal energy is then converted into electricity for further transportation. And this is where the sustainable development idea comes into play, whereby we have to act with caution and make sure that we do not pollute the environment. So at the end of the day, having to dispose of excess electricity in a safe and environmentally friendly manner. So to do all this or accomplish all this, you need good specialists, you need good trained professionals. So the world changed the requirements for specialists, and the technology and the format of their skill specialists are needed, especially those who can adapt to these new technologies quickly, because we need these specialists right now. We need them to be productive as soon as possible. Now, what's also important is to make sure that all participants of the educational process understand that the relationships between them are very deep, and there's no such thing as strange students or foreign students and teachers. So this is the foundation. This is the basics. So, and that's why actually digitalization of educational process can really help to achieve this. So looking at our key objectives that rely on principles of the high quality of the services that we provide. So those objectives include the reliance on high technology and bringing back online the technological and industrial infrastructure that was destroyed. And then in a post-war situation, start working on implementing high standards of education, high quality standards. And by the way, we need to be doing this now already, and that's something that we have been doing at our university. So high standards of educational quality, and then integration, making sure that local quality is there with respect to the educational process itself, and then that this high quality of education, we want to make sure that it translates into high professional performance. So, we are quite a successful university in terms of building relationships with all the participants of the educational process. So we have very good relationship with the National Agency, Cabinet of Ministers, the Parliament of Ukraine, and the President of Ukraine. And basically, they all support this idea that the new enrollment program will have to reflect the needs of the country today, with a more focus on sort of STEM-related jobs. So digitalization of the process, of the entire process, has been around for several years in Ukraine, and has proven to be highly effective. So I think what we are seeing today is, the fact that despite all these minor and major bureaucratic obstacles, our partners nonetheless provided their firm assistance and help. So, which means that they trust us, which means that they know us and would like to help us. And I think digitalization plays a huge role in this. So in our university, we have this philosophy of a single entry point, basically. So where employers don't have to beat around the bush, looking for qualified staff. We provide a full spectrum of services to help train specialists that will create added value for the Ukrainian economy and for these businesses. Now, here's another thing, our university serves as a platform to conduct trial runs of various pieces of equipment, technological and scientific support, and actually having our students work for those businesses starting from year 3, which is a part of our training arrangement, and working for major global brands, no less. So a Dnipro Polytechnic student has a way to interact and build relationship with reliable employers that can really help them grow and foster this relationship and create employment opportunities in the future. So the university prides itself on being open and flexible, ready to answer any questions, however inconvenient. So basically, things like openness and flexibility are the hallmarks of a quality educational process. Then involving business every stage of the way is another hallmark. So, and that this is, we have this, all this. So, openness is about involving businesses in all stages. Flexibility is about using digital platforms and scaling these services. And technology creates opportunities to integrate with the global community by adopting international standards, and then integration, which is basically the compliance with the requirements of the European Union market. So making sure that all these different processes are in line with European requirements. And this has to be done in an organic sort of fashion, through cooperation, through improving language skills, and then through working with partners all over Europe. We've received so much support, so much technology has already been transferred, and a lot of technology has been developed in-house as well. So, I would just like to thank our partners from the US and the EU and from all of the civilized world for working with us and involving us in this integrational process. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have already emerged victorious. We have proven the point for the world to see, to everyone, that basically we are the part of this European family, and we can enrich each other. So everything will be fine, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is amazing what you're doing, just 100 kilometers from the front line, from the very active war activity. Thank you. Colleagues, and now we move to Kyiv, our capital, our heart, our soul, and it is my great pleasure to welcome the speech of the first head of NACA, ex-Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine, and the newly elected president of Kyiv Mohyla Academy, Serhiy Kvit. Serhiy Mironovich, we know about the strategy your university has developed, the strategy of international campus. So the floor is yours to share your experience.
Of course, it is, to be honest, it is quite hard to keep our attention to different procedures of quality assurance. That is why, in time of the war, that is why we, my colleagues and I, tried to change a bit our policy. You know, and we think that all our activities could be fruitful for the improving of quality assurance process in Ukraine, within our university. And first of all, main challenges for Ukrainian universities. It's the first and the most you know, important challenge. It's war for standard independence from Russia, and because of the war, we have a fact that university communities in Ukraine are scattered throughout Ukraine, including the Russian occupied territories. We have some teachers who have their classes, who organize their classes from the territory that is occupied by Russians today, as well as in Western Europe and North America. This is the fact. That is why we have, I think, potentially we have a huge new wave of brain drain. The next slide, please. You know that according to some survey, more than 80% of Ukrainians abroad are ready come back to Ukraine immediately after the end of the war. But this is the fact of that our community are scattered, not only our community, but Ukrainian academic community. What is the main task in the context of the restoration of higher education area in Ukraine? We need to create a holistic picture of what kind of Ukraine we want to see after the war, because restoration of Ukraine, it's not only about you know, restoration of buildings, roads, and you know, some premises. It's about our vision on the future of our society, reforms, especially in a higher education area, and so on. But we need to you know, physical reconstruction of destroyed universities. It is important, of course. And today we had the opportunity to get the information about you know, Mariupol University or Karazin University. Reconstruction is important. Also, we need to create a regional network of higher education institutions that would be agent of reformist change. It is important too, because you know, we have a lot of reforms, a lot of changes that we need to fulfill after the war. And I think that we need to create, first of all, a kind of network of such institutions that would be active in such activity after the war. Please, the next slide. We can consider shortly the case of Kyiv-Mohyl Academy. We are considering ourselves as a university as an agent of changes, and I said about that. What I mean, we also consider ourselves as a network university. According to such policy, we try to create international campuses of Kyiv-Mohyl Academy abroad, in North America and Western Europe. Currently, we can say about establishing of our campuses in collaboration with University of Toronto, Canada, University of Glasgow, Great Britain, University of Vilnius, Lithuania, and University Gießen University in Germany. What the concept of international campuses includes. First of all, it's its representative offices. All our campuses have or will have representative offices, exchange programs for students and teachers, joint research groups, mutual study programs and courses, and stable financing. And what is the purpose? Why we are going this way in our time? First of all, it's, we have a hope that our study programs abroad will be attractive for Ukrainians who came outside from Ukraine in time of the war. We would like to keep them under attention of our institution and under attention of Ukraine, if you want. The second point is we would like to be attractive to students, to German, Canadian, British, or Lithuanian, or some other students from university partners of our university. And thirdly, it's a very good opportunity for Kyiv-Mohyla students to have, it's kind of international mobility for them within the system of Kyiv-Mohyla Academy. And hopefully, I think our bachelor students will go abroad sometimes 2 or 3 times during when they are students of Kyiv-Mohyla Academy. I think its approach is quite interesting, and maybe it could be interesting as an experience for other Ukrainian universities. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sergei Mironovich, for sharing such, new strategy, new approach. Thank you. It's very interesting for the other Ukrainian universities also. Dear colleagues, the largest university in Ukraine is Taras Shevchenko Kyiv National University. How does such a university ensures quality during the wartime? I give the floor to Rector Volodymyr Bukhrov. Please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear participants. Next slide, please. You can see at the heart of the city of Kiev, the heart of our capital, the red building, and the main objective of our university, which we formulated within 90 days of undeclared aggression of Russian Federation in Ukraine, was that education is our contribution to Ukraine's victory. And so this is exactly why our university chose the strategy of ensuring the work with minimal requirements, as if the war did not exist. If Mariupol was in the front line, Kharkov was very close, and the situation in Kiev was also tense, but we had the task to demonstrate Orbe and Torbe to the city and the world that university works. So this slogan for us was important. Next slide, please. In the context of ensuring the quality of higher education, I would like to note that we started this path back in 2010. As you can see, the first version, the first edition of ASG, which was the basis for the program adopted in 2011. The program for ensuring the quality in Kiev National University. It was the subject for several projects in Erasmus Plus and other projects. So today, the updated system of internal quality assurance is effective, and we have modernized it, we're adapting it to the current operating conditions. Next slide, please. As I have noted, it was important for us to renew education, to make sure that all staff members, all faculty and students of the university, and these are more than 45,000 individuals, about 30,000 individuals studying different daily forms, more than 8,000 of individuals work at university. This is not only Kiev, but also other regions. So we held the survey with more than half of our students, and we can see that the key issue was not whether they want, but whether our students can continue education using distance learning technologies. And as we can see, 65%, almost 66%, 2/3 clearly shows they would like to continue their studies. Also in this survey, we had questions on the assistance the university can provide to those who are in occupied areas, to those who evacuated. Several thousands of our students are in the EU countries, and we keep in touch with them. We restarted trading as if there was no war. There is the expression "I'll soap." It was the key for us. We had to work. We had to show that in this intensive state of war, there is something stable. This is why you can see the whole range of our activities. So this is usual modes of operations for us. Twice a week we hold. These are officials down to the level of head of security of each building. We hold these meetings. This is not so much to tell something, but just to keep in touch. Just keep in touch with everyone who works at university, who studies at university. That's why we implemented this practice of ongoing meetings and collective decision-making, which would enable to feel part of the results. This has become acceptable because over 2 years of the lockdown, the university moved to the corporate workspace Google account, and also to accounts of Microsoft Teams and Zoom. We were connected 2 years ago to Coursera. We received 10,000 licenses for Coursera to our students and professors. And frankly, this was our basis of our confidence that we are able to operate at least at minimal necessary level to ensure the quality of university education. This became the time of huge supports, fantastic supports of our university, just like other universities by the EU. At this slide, you can see very interesting things. At the bottom, you can see the signing of the agreement with Lotaringi University. It was online. On the right, you can see Vice Rector Smirnova signing the agreement on strategic partnership with University of Edinburgh. On the right, at the top, you can see the picture of our students. Professor Kaganovska already mentioned that there are some specificities, and now we have gender imbalance in terms of sending students and professors abroad. These are female students and staff members and teachers. These are students of psychology departments in the Amsterdam Free University. At the top of the slide, you can see Professor Michael Murphy, the President of the European Association of Universities. I'm convinced that most of you know that at annual conference of European Association of Universities in Budapest, there was a special panel dedicated to Ukraine, and Vice Rector Smirnova, who is at the bottom, at the right of the picture, was speaking on behalf of the universities of Ukraine, presenting Mariupol, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Odessa, Lviv, Chernihiv, and Kiev. In the middle, you can see the state flag of Ukraine. Then we have the flag of Armed Forces of Ukraine. We raised it in front of the Reds building. The flag of the Crimean Tatars, one of the indigenous peoples of Ukraine, the flag of university, and the flag of the European Union. In the center of Kiev, we demonstrate that Ukraine and our university are part of Europe. Over this time, we have sent 122 students and postgraduate students to 37 European universities as part of academic mobility, 38 lecturers and researchers on different projects, and 52 universities. And every day, the number of participants of this project is increasing. We are working on this. Next slide, please. Over this time, we also use this time to deploy regular project for us, the development, the professional development of faculty and employees. So for the third week, we have the program of professional development for the guarantors of the education programs. You can see the indicators of the participants of this program. I'd like to thank the national agency, which is the trainer for us today in this project. These projects are conducted every half year, but this one is special because once again, we talked to people on how during the martial law, during the war, how can we work for the benefit of university in the country. Next slide, please. Over this time, we have worked on accreditation. You can see the indicators, 26 educational programs. Received a certificate of accreditation. 4 of them are exemplary. 16 educational programs are at different stages of review. 38 programs are uploaded for self-assessment, and this process is ongoing. I'd like to reiterate that the martial law is the condition of some psychological movement. For us, it was important to do the work we were doing before. We have listened to some strange things like the university leadership should know that we have war, and many presentations that I made were starting with the words that the leadership of university knows that the war is going on, but the university leadership is in Kiev and doing the work. And this led to some unity. Yes, so I understand that we have war, but we need to do our work. And these are indicators of accreditation, which are very bright demonstration of this. That is why we continue to support our staff of university. You can see this is May 9. This is the day of remembrance of Taras Shevchenko and university. Even this year, when around Kiev we had shelling, we had missiles, we laid the flowers to the monuments to Taras Shevchenko to demonstrate to the city and the world that we exist. There are sacks with sand. There are some concrete protection. But you can see that the students from our military university raising the flag of the armed forces. This is our work. This is humanitarian mission. And the campus, on one hand, we have humanitarian cargoes. On the other hand, we feed more than 3,500 people who live at dormitories, at our canteens. We reviewed our bomb shelters, we had communications there, and also we improved the areas after winter. We had some spring cleaning. This is what we have done before when we had usual life. These are some specificities at our university. We have 2 military institutes. The military institutes are the state guards, our officers, and our cadets. They were held in defense of the sites in Kiev. They were sent to the front line. And this is also our contribution. We train high quality professionals who held the defense of the 2 important sites in Ukraine, Sholana Airport and one of the bridges over Dnipro River. It is also quality of training of professionals for the armed forces. Next slide, please. I would like to thank you once again and like to emphasize that maybe we need to focus on what we have done yesterday, what we're doing today, what we're going to do tomorrow, because this is our path to victory. Thank you very much indeed to our colleagues, to rectors, for keeping in touch, for assistance, for different messengers and communicators. This is also a great benefit because this is how we demonstrate it to our teams, to our faculty, that we continue to do the work and we will persevere and we will win. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is an excellent example of student-centered approach even during the wartime, because the student surveys are still conducted and students' opinion is important and considered in the educational process. Thank you very much. And now we move to more or less safe regions to the west of Ukraine, and Ivano-Frankivsk region is considered to be relatively safe, but I say relatively because every day Ivano-Frankivsk faces alarms as all other regions of Ukraine, and also there were a few missile strikes. However, quite many universities have been replaced to this part, and among such replaced universities is also Kherson universities, which is replaced from Kherson, which is temporarily occupied territory. And I would like to ask to share experience the rector of Vasil Stefanik Prekarpathian National University, Igor Tsipenda. Please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear participants. My name is Igor Tsipenda, the rector of Prekarpathian National University named after Vasil Stefanik. Let me present my presentation, University and the War Conditions. Next slide. In the first week of war, the university basically has platform for the students of those universities which were not able to continue education and because of Russian aggression, so that they continue to study according to their program. Also involves humanitarian support for Kharkiv, Kherson universities for the armed forces of Ukraine based on voluntary contributions of the staff of the university. Supported by Sydney University in Warsaw, we prepare for affected universities the IT package, which in the amount of $25,000, which will help them to implement their tasks. As an example, the participants of recent international conference on mathematics at the expense of the membership contribution raised about 20,000 euros to support Kharkiv University of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. They also involve a significant number of dormitories for accommodation for refugees. On April 10, on the basis of Prekarpattia State University, we started the work of Kherson National University. One complex evacuations, because from the first days of war, Kherson ended up in occupation. It was impossible to transport equipment and documentation of university. The teachers and staff members left with danger for their lives. During 2 weeks in the conditions of occupation in Kherson, they digitized especially important documents. And through cloud platforms, they transmitted them to the service of Prekarpattia University. Next slide. From my side, we opened the electronic resources for teachers and students of Kherson University. We provided training facility, we provided computers, equipment, and creating conditions for accommodation. As of today, Kherson State University holds the training process as distance basis. Next slide. In the first weeks of war, many companies evacuated to the western regions of Ukraine. We managed to quickly establish contacts, and as of today, jointly with the biggest farm after the printers extrusion and movements, we started the deployment of experimental production of tourniquets and the devices for quick stopping of hemorrhage, which saved lives during the war for the warriors in the battlefield. According to preliminary assessments, the daily turn is about 1,500 tourniquets. Next slide. Psychology departments of the university deployed wide psychological assistance. First of all, it covered refugees, those warriors in the battlefields, and the combatants, the injured servicemen, establishing areas for children, developing advice for teachers how to adopt children who survive the stress of war. Next slide. We are grateful for huge assistance which we received today from the global community. Among the wide ranges, provision of significant education benefits for Ukrainian students and researchers at universities of the European Union. At the same time, this area of assistance can lead to massive leaving of young people and researchers from Ukraine. Also, we'll have problems with enrollment of students for the first years of university. We can lose leading scientists and scientific schools. It is important for us that young people and scientists remain in Ukraine because they need to protect and to rebuild the country. In other case, this voids will be filled by those against whom we're fighting. Significant. It's more financially beneficial for the global community to invest into programs of double diploma at the level of bachelor's. Semester visits of Ukrainian students to foreign universities increases in the number of scientific projects with Ukrainian scientists who work in Ukraine. Today, we need to support, first of all, those students and researchers who stay in Ukraine. Next slide. Despite Russian aggression, we continue to implement international scientific and research projects. At the final stage, we have the third by highest mountainous research center, observatory of Prekarpat and Warsaw University at PP1 mountain, about 2,000 meters in Carpathia. It will to research in natural sciences and the safety and tourism movement. Next slide. Another youth platform is educational center for meetings of students of Ukraine and Poland in Mykolaiv village in Carpathia, which was created as a sample of the centers in Germany, France, and Poland. It will be a unique platform for university discussions about the past, the present, and the future, and also for recognition of the modern Ukraine. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for sharing another type of experience, but again, very valuable and very interesting for everybody. And so let's move to Lviv. It's also important to see how small non-government universities contribute to the higher education development in the wartime and how do they ensure quality of higher education. So I give the floor to Dmytro Cherenigovsky, Vice Rector of the Ukrainian Catholic University.
Secure space, because recently we have a number of the cruise missiles attack on Lviv and other western cities, but pretty safe zone comparing with the other institutions. So we are not big, we are rather a small community here in Lviv, and we are 2% of the total Lviv community. So you can see that we are 2,100 students overall. We are private, we are non-profit, we have zero support from the state, but we are values-driven institution and the only Catholic non-profit in all post-Soviet area. So please, next slide. We are a rather internationalized institution. We have more than 115 partners all over the world. And our location, actually, at the western part of Ukraine, 50 kilometers from Polish border, helps us a lot to be a part of the internationalization flows and exchange programs and so on and so forth. So please, next slide. So our war started with a few questions. So what can we do? And we see that security is our top priority. So before even the war, the full-scale invasion Russian started, we developed 4 strategies of behavior, and definitely full-scale war, we were much skeptical about this, but it was our so-called red scenario in which we had to live and collaborate together with the city and with the Lviv region and our other institutions. So building capacity and security on the campus was our main priority. Please, next slide. We were talking with the city, and the city was planning to host nearly 100,000 of IDPs, and it turns out that we have much more that were to the present, like 25% of Lviv population. So what was our response? And our response was hosting IDPs. So we hosted families of our students, and especially people with special needs, people with disabilities, because it turned out that Ukrainian Catholic University was the only place in Lviv that was adapted actually to rescue and to have the full cycle of treatment for people with special needs. So overall, you can see that we hosted more than 800 of of people during this period of time. Next slide, please. And our main approach is our slogan, that is witnessing, serving, and communicating. And that typically means that actually these priorities of practicing service learning approach, providing humanitarian aid, being a platform for virtual collaboration with international universities, but also national universities, and creating models of educational experiments was our main priorities during this period. Next slide, please. But concerning the service learning approach, it helps us a lot that we developed it even before the war started and COVID started. And it was important for us, for our students, to be present within the society. So we had to incorporate different volunteers projects as a part of our curricula. We decided not to stop our classes. We had such opportunity, but transform them, requiring every program to create a number of projects that involve both students and faculty members, and in the fields of psychological assistance, spiritual help, treatment of people with disabilities and IDPs, providing law consultations, and also consulting relocated business who come to live. Next slide, please. Together with our donors, we have a big network of donors who support us, and we say usually every penny is important. So we decided to be a trusted platform because we had this trust, and to use it to help others. That is why you can see at the end of the April, we have more than $2 million of US dollars that flowed across us to help civil society and also our army. And there is very important critical point how the private universities can use their networks for help, for assistance, because during the fundraising, they are usually doing fundraising. Next slide, please. And important part is a virtual collaboration. We talk a number of that issues, but what we decided, being in a secure place, like to use our platform. So we asked a number of our universities abroad just to open courses, and we were ready not only to use them for our students, but also provide support to the other students. So a number of students of Ukrainian institutions, and a part of them are really here during this presentation. They also participated in such opportunities. So we decided to join a number of initiatives of so-called Ukrainian open universities, or open initiatives of how we can use digital platforms to connect Ukrainian institutions and international institutions. Next slide. What is more important, we were trying to do a number of experiments within the educational models to use this situation, to use this war to transform education. So you can see a number of transformation that are already part of our curriculum, that is so-called flying universities, to include non-formal and informal education, also to increase the number of non-degree programs at the part of the of our formal program, also to include this volunteer service, and definitely include service learning and post-conflict education, thinking of what will be need for reconstruction. The next slide, please. So overall, we also created a platform that everybody can join and share our experience, share their experience, and also look through what we are offering, so our models. And here I just want to stop, probably. Thank you for this opportunity, and please stay in touch with us.
Yeah, thank you very much, and for your presentation, and for everything your university is doing during the wartime. Thank you very much. And in the wartime, we really have understood the value of the quality of military education. Let me invite Volodymyr Mirnenko, who is director of the Department of Military Education and Science of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. Pane Volodymyru, the floor is yours.
Dear participants, I'd like to talk to you about the quality assurance for military education. In times of war, the quality of educational activities in the field of military science becomes ever more evident. So the quality assurance system is based upon the requirements of the NACA and NATO standards. quality assurance education system, accreditation process algorithm, quality of education evaluation criteria. All these things are pretty much the same as in NATO. So when it comes to military education, it is very much in line with modern NATO standards. As a part of the Ministry of Defense activities, the educational framework is a continuous process and uninterrupted process, basically. Currently, we train specialists in 21 areas of expertise and 38 specialties. So the military education system has quite a significant capacity to train highly motivated and highly skilled professionals. And obviously in the military matters, it's the cohesion that is so important. So collective training is becoming ever more important. So since the start of the accreditation process at the department, we've implemented a number of activities that helped us improve the existing system and transform the Soviet system into on best international practices from all over the world and our own in-house experience, which allowed us basically to create a quality assurance system, to put it together basically, and then involve some of our experts with the national agency, develop hundreds of training programs, develop hundreds of standards for all specializations, introduce changes into higher educational standards, rework 100% of educational programs to make sure that every single program meets all the requirements of NATO standards and NACA requirements, and is in line with modern military thinking and modern military decision-making algorithm. And it's as we all know, it's the junior commanders that can really make the difference on the battlefield, and that is why we need to focus on their training so much. Now, we were able to introduce remote learning system. We were able to conduct an audit of our educational system involving NATO specialists and introduce multiple changes into Ukrainian legislation in the field of education, and then rework and significantly improve our internal policies within the Ministry of Defense. And as a result, what we're going to get is a brand new military educational system. This brand new system will allow for continuous professional development of military personnel for the duration of their careers, including achieving operational capabilities for the defense forces of Ukraine in order to be able to plan and conduct operations and act jointly with other branches and armed services, and do so in line with the best NATO practices and requirements. So in conjunction with NACA, we have been working on implementing a number of activities to improve the quality of higher military education. And these activities, when implemented, will achieve certain results, including creation of an integrated military higher education, integrated into overall higher educational system of Ukraine. Then harmonization with NATO standards by introducing decision-making and operational planning principles of NATO. And then involvement of the entire spectrum of defense forces from tactical to operational and to strategical level. And then also make sure that all of the requirements of NACA and NATO are followed to the letter. So these are the results that we're looking to achieve. However, there are lingering problems out there, including destruction of facilities that have to be restored, rebuilt, creation of a proper infrastructure and proper equipment base for our students. So when address these issues, when address these sort of achievements will give a powerful impetus to the existing system. Thank you very much. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues. So we have finished this part which related to internal quality assurance experience in Ukraine during the wartime. And before we move, we are a little bit out of schedule, but I hope the experience which is shared is worthwhile of those time which we spent for this forum. So before we move to the presentation of the National Action Plan, I would like to ask to start the second poll with the question regarding the National Action Plan, and the poll is the same as in the first case. The poll will be active for 5 minutes, so we would like to ask all Zoom webinar participants to vote the survey, and also Facebook participants who follows our forum via Facebook to contribute to this survey. Just one question survey. So dear colleagues, the analysis of external and internal quality assurance has demonstrated we need to consolidate efforts of all our stakeholders in order to progress further and ensure high education quality assurance in Ukraine, even during the wartime. So NACA has initiated their working group and involved students, employers, rectors, Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine Parliament Committee, to discuss and develop national action plan of Ukrainian higher education quality assurance for 222-223 period. In order to present it, I give the floor to Ivan Nazarov, NACA Vice Head. Pane Ivanov, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. It is a great pleasure for me to present the National Action Plan for Quality Insurance for Education for 2022-2023. So let me emphasize that NACA has started its operation back in 2019. And immediately the goal, the very ambitious goal, was set to become a catalyst for a powerful drive towards improving the quality of higher education. And it became very apparent very quickly that without proper integration of national agency, well, its effectiveness will remain questionable. So that's why we started developing the National Action Plan in line with European quality assurance requirements from the get-go, basically. So despite all these difficulties, we expect to become full members of European Quality Assurance Association and basically proceed with the implementation of activities according to this action plan. So, yeah, one slide back, please. Yes. So the National Action Plan on External Higher Education Quality Assurance is a very practical step that has been taken in that direction. So it was modeled after ENCA initiatives and is tailor-made for countries such as ours that has yet to become an ENCA member. So the goal here, the overall strategic objective, is to ensure better integration within the government, to create better integration with external stakeholders, and achieve harmonization with ESG, which is a requirement according to European Association Agreement. Now, first things first, right? You have to start with harmonizing Ukrainian legislation with the ESG requirements. Then continue working to make sure that the national accreditation criteria meet ESG requirements. Another important task is to develop methods and criteria for involving experts in accreditation process to ensure external quality control. Now, further alignment of national procedures with ESG methodology is yet another task, right? So obviously, each of these tasks has a responsible person assigned to it, and every single one of them understands the importance of the job they're doing, especially today in times of work. Now, as it has been mentioned already, pretty much every single stakeholder in Ukraine in higher educational space decided to get themselves involved in the drafting of this plan, including NACA, including the ministry, including the Verkhovna Rada Committee, including the Union of Higher Educational Establishments, including students, and including Employers Association, among many others. So the working continue to discuss and look at existing mechanisms and existing cooperation arrangements with students associations and employers association, look at the involvement of foreign partners in the quality assurance process in Ukraine, achieving ethical or making sure the ethical standards are met. Quality assurance for the national agency itself was also elaborated. So we were able to, first of all, agree on our understanding of the current status of affairs within the educational, higher educational quality assurance, and identify gaps and ways to mitigate those gaps. So if you look at the broad spectrum of actions in the action plan, those could be broadly divided into two major groups: priority actions and sort of secondary actions, potential actions. So including acquiring methodological and financial support for NACA to become a full member, development and legal regulation of procedure and grounds for post-accreditation monitoring, optimization of NACA legal status, update of the regulations on study programs, accreditation, and criteria for evaluation, and reform of the appeal committee and procedures for appealing against NACA decisions. So these are the priority actions that need to be implemented very soon indeed, and the legal framework has been laid down, and these decisions, these actions can and will be implemented very swiftly and efficiently indeed. Now, the second sort of broad group of actions in the plan are the so-called prospective actions, and these are basically the continuous tasks that will keep on going even after the achievement of the overall objective. So these prospective actions include improving the mechanisms of training for NACA experts, involvement of international experts in accreditation procedures, increasing the level of stakeholders' involvement in NACA, work and approval of a set of legal documents to build a network of independent instructions for evaluation and higher education quality assurance, right? So to conclude with, European integration is a conscientious choice of all the stakeholders in Ukrainian higher education, and no one and nothing can stop us from achieving these goals. Neither could COVID, nor will the Russian invade us. So, colleagues, thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, ask away, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And yes, this is the really results of our collaboration with all stakeholders in higher education quality assurance. And we do believe this national action plan will be in action, actually. I also got the results of the survey which related to the priorities in the national action plan, and the quite interesting results we have, because 75% the highest score, it was given to the focus of the strengthening the NACA role as a platform for the exchange of best practices to support higher educational institutions. We also have 44% votes for resumption of online and mixed accreditations to fully implement external quality assurance in the wartime. You can see that our stakeholders, the participants of the webinar, put as a priority the external higher education quality assurance even during the wartime. We also have a high score for the strengthening the NACA advisory board, advisory role, and also NACA's priority of NACA's full membership in NCAS. Thank you, colleagues, for voting. These results are very important for us. And now it's time to start open discussion. Actually, we believe that we will have approximately 30 minutes for the discussion, but unfortunately we are out of time, so we don't have so much time for this. However, we also have good news, because we have option to participate in the discussion via Menti, which we prepared for our Facebook participants and also Zoom room participants to follow, to contribute to the discussion. So now I ask colleagues to share the links in the chats, in the Facebook and in Zoom chat, to assess the Menti form, which will allow you to contribute to the discussion, and we will review all your comments and consider in the action plan and also in other our documents. But we also still have some time to invite our colleagues who are among panelists to the discussion. You can raise your hands, and if you would like to add something, contribute something before we finish this forum, so please, you're welcome to contribute to the discussion. And I welcome this opportunity to thank our advisory board members for joining this session, and also NACA members and also our colleagues. So please, I see Irina Darcha, our advisory board member from Georgia, raised hand. So please, Irina, so you are welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, Natalia. Well, in fact, Ukraine, the country, and many Ukrainian institutions are doing miracles. And well, this conference is one of the evidences. It was really very impressive. And for the people, for the foreigners who don't know Ukraine in person, who have not collaborated with Ukraine, they hardly believe that in the times of war, an organization is able to organize such a conference. In order to attend the conference today, I was forced to cancel some of my assignments, and nobody believed that I was going to attend a conference organized by an Ukrainian quality assurance agency. So there are two parallel wars, or two parallel worlds in Ukraine now. One war is with the soldiers, and another war is with any other institutions of your country. And the soldiers are fighting with the arms, and you, NACA, and all Ukrainian universities, you are fighting with your own arms, with your old tools, with old instruments. I'm very happy that ESG became one of your tools as well. Well, and we are all the whole world is sure that Ukraine will win, but we could say that NACA is also winner of this extraordinary situation, because NACA wrote a new page in quality assurance system. And I would say that it's opened a new page concerning the ESG. We see today, after listening to these presentations, fascinating presentations, that ESG could be used in war times as well, and it could be functional. So it seems to me that, of course, internationalization, membership of ENCA, registration in ECRA is crucial for NACA, for Ukraine, for Ukrainian higher education system, especially in the times of war, and maybe now it's much more crucial and important than it was 1 year ago. But it seems to me that not only you need NACA membership, but NACA also needs you in order to have a very good example of resistance and of really assuring quality in extremely difficult times. So Ukraine showed to the whole world that the Russian army is not the strongest army in the world. And NACA showed to the world that it is possible to achieve the results in just 3 years. And it's possible to achieve the results in 3 years, which other agencies, ordinary agencies under ordinary circumstances may need a couple of years and maybe a decade. And following NACA activities since autumn of 2019, I'm really impressed with the results. And with this occasion, I would like to give special thanks to Sergei Kvid and to Mikhailo Vinitsky for their incredible efforts for establishing NACA and for its initial developments. And I'm very happy that now under the new leadership, under Andrei Butinko, the same policies kept and the same policies continued. And congratulations to NACA for this continuity, which is very, very important. And my last remark, I'm a little bit dissatisfied with the results of the voting concerning the international experts. I do believe that involvement of international experts is extremely important for real self-evaluation and to avoid conflict of interest and for many other issues, and to understand where your higher education system stands in the broader context. So I would suggest to give more emphasis to involvement of international experts in the quality assurance processes, which is one of the requirements of ENCA, general ENCA membership. And it seems to me that nowadays there can be many international experts which will support these processes absolutely voluntarily, without any additional fees to participate in quality assurance processes in Ukraine. Thank you very much. Slava Ukraini.
Heroyam Slava, thank you very much, Irina. We know how much you support us and how much Georgian people, actually, not so government, but people support Ukrainians in this. So thank you very much for your comments and for solidarity. Ian, please, the floor is yours. Our head of our advisory board, Ian Welsh. Ian, please unmute yourself.
There we are, a rookie mistake there. I just wanted to echo some of Irina's excellent comments about the resilience and the fortitude of NACA. But also, I was very interested in some of the universities' comments about the partnerships that they've established around the world to maintain Ukrainian students' higher education, despite them being distributed around many different countries. I'm wondering, well, I suppose firstly, is NACA doing anything to facilitate those sort of partnerships? And then secondly, is there anything that we can do in order to facilitate NACA facilitating those partnerships?
Mm-hmm. So this is a question to the audience, or would like anybody to respond, reflect on these questions? Yeah, please.
So let me try, Natalia. Well, Ian, thank you for your question. So early on into this work, yes, the NACA was pretty much looking for these partnerships everywhere we could, and reaching out to our partners from our network, asking if they were willing to help, willing to participate. And we kept our students posted on those universities from other countries that were willing to host them. And the list was growing fast. So within weeks, we reached some 100 of different universities from all over the world. And at which point, our involvement, it felt it was no longer necessary, because the universities themselves, they have picked up the pace and started doing it themselves, especially those in the west of Ukraine. So yes, we have a lot of this experience here in Ukraine. Now, as far as your second question,
we can extend this experience to Europe. We also have this experience. Sergey mentioned the universities of Lithuania, Germany, United Kingdom, which also opens their education programs and campuses to support Ukrainian students and faculty. I mentioned only some countries. There are many more. So Ukrainian students and professors require this support going forward, because the war has not stopped. It continues. And danger is in every city from the east to the west. While we're holding these talks, I'm in the center of Kiev. We had air alarm twice. Thank God Ukrainian troops are protecting the capital, but the war doesn't stop in Lviv or Ivano-Frankivsk. And the further we go east, the more dangerous it becomes. Unfortunately, this problem will persevere in time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleagues, any other comments? We actually really appreciate that such a huge interest, and I see that participants in Zoom and also in Facebook still follow up the forum regardless. We work for 2.5 hours. So if any other comments, if anybody else would like to provide some other comments, we welcome this opportunity. But if not, then I will give the floor for the final remarks to Andriy Butenko. But if there are still, those who would like to contribute to the discussion at this stage, so please just raise your hand. While I'm waiting, if I don't miss anybody's hand, so I just also would like to thank all our speakers today, because you have noted that our university is performing very well, and they, regardless all these challenges and the most difficult times for all Ukrainians, they do their best to support students, to support the teachers, to ensure continuity of the educational process. So this is very important for us. So I don't see any hands at this moment. So for the final remarks, I would like to give the floor to Andriy Butenko, the head of National Agency for Higher Education Quality Assurance.
Thank you, Natalia. I'm honored. I was honored to say the first words today and to finalize our meeting. Colleagues, first of all, I'd like to thank you for joining this discussion. We understand that within this 2.5 to 3 hours, it's impossible to solve the problems we raised today and we shared today. But we would like the world community to know that quality of education is important for us even in these extreme times. This is important at any time because education is the future of the country. It doesn't make sense to protect country if it doesn't have the future. And we believe in our successful future. We see this future together with you in the joint civilized world. And this is why we're fighting. This is what we're fighting for. I address you, we have private relationships, we have private connections between universities, between agencies, between associations. We are ready to share our experience. It is unique. We're certain that some decisions we made very quick may be beneficial to you in normal, peaceful life. We're ready to share this experience. We don't just ask about assistance, but we really ask the promotion. We're convinced in our victory and we would like to build our education now and after the victory. So we would be grateful for the proposals of joint education programs between our universities, joint roadmaps for the development of the quality assurance systems, external and internal quality assurance in Ukraine. We are facing many challenges. We would like to be fully fledged partners of joint European education space, even more, even deeper. Today's conference demonstrated the unity in Ukraine, regardless of different political views. We united all political parties, and today at the conference we had all branches of power, representatives of different regions. And with United Education Front, we're ready to move forward. We'll be grateful for your advice, for your assistance, and for any initiatives for cooperation. Thank you very much, colleagues, for allowing us to share our achievements, and we're ready to move forward, and see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, colleagues. Bye. Thank you for joining the forum. Thank you. Bye.